All right, it's hard to imagine the crisis on the southern border getting any worse than it is now. But according to reports, another caravan of hundreds of migrants has started the journey towards the U.S. borders. Authorities in Honduras are trying to actually send them back. Our next guests were part of a delegation of Texas Republicans that actually visited the border yesterday and got a firsthand look at the situation right there. Joining us now, Texas Congressman Pete Sessions and Pat Fallon. Gentlemen, great to have you both back on the show. Congressman Fallon, I want to start with you. I want to start with you, Congressman Fallon. When you were leaving your visit on the border, from what I understand, you saw people getting moved, and I want to know what you believed and why they were being moved.
You know, so Sean, I flew back, to Dallas, and half the plane had migrants on the plane. They had illegal immigrants. They had paperwork with them that said, "Please help me. I don't speak English. Where should I go to catch my connecting flight?" And they had their itineraries on the piece of paper there. And I thought to myself, the American taxpayer is paying for this. These folks apparently are being, not only it's catch and release, but they're not even giving them a summons to appear. From what we've been told, they're just releasing them, they're flying to New York, Chicago, L.A., and I don't know why. And I'd like to have the Biden administration tell us and show us a little accountability. What are you doing?
So it's just an itinerary that says, hey, I'm getting flown to somewhere else in America to be released, right?
Well, yeah, no, they're on the planes. And then one of our colleagues, Beth Van Dyne, yesterday took photos of folks. She said the McAllen Airport, the airport was full of folks from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, the illegals, and they were, leaving to go, to parts unknown.
Congressman Sessions, often we talk about people crossing the border illegally, but in abstract terms, Sean and I were talking about this yesterday, we haven't been there, so we don't know. But walk us through the actual process of how someone gets into the U.S. Is it as easy as just walking across? What's the process?
Well, in fact, it could be. It depends if you want to come across to be caught. Once again, the cartel immediately gets paid for their money for delivering the person. Or it could be that you're like a good number of others, some 26 or 27,000 people during the month who did not want to get caught, who presumptively may have had some contraband. They may have been previously arrested in the United States and did not want to be found. There are essentially two separate circumstances of people, as you suggest, those that walk up, mostly women and children. Oh, yes, we did have thousands, tens of thousands of 17-year-old and unders who just were caught. But about 1 in 3 does not want to be found. They do not want to be identified. They are not here for a purpose that would be above board. And the Border Patrol has been kept away from using defensive mechanisms like aerostats and other identifiers that would help them to see people in these other areas. We have Border Patrol, about 9 out of 10 have been taken off their job and moved into another area in Donna, Texas, where they are now essentially babysitting 5,700 people we saw, where there should be around 200 to 400 people. And it is a humanitarian crisis. It's an embarrassment to the professional men and women of law enforcement.
Couldn't agree with you more. Congressman Fallon, Congressman Sessions brought this up. The idea of the cartels getting paid. I think for a lot of people, they find this probably, and myself included, don't get this. So how does that work? I mean, does someone has to pay a cartel, or is that a bounty? Is that the price of admission? Is that what role do they play in getting somebody from A to B?
Well, Sean, they really benefit in 2 ways. One, the direct payment. Anything that crosses that border illicitly, the drug cartels are getting paid on. Me and Congressman Sessions saw that They're a part of 1.5 million pounds of fish are being illegally fished out of American waters by the cartel. They'll make a buck any way they can. They make it with sex trafficking. They make it with illegals. So you've got a coyote that takes people across. Now, if he hasn't paid the cartel and he gets caught, they very well may kill him. So they make sure that they've paid up. So if they get stopped, they've got their little ticket, so the cartel lets them through. They do it obviously with drugs. They do it with people. They do it with sex trafficking. They also do it with illegal fishing. And what we saw yesterday was disgusting. I was outraged. I got physically nauseous. When you have 4,377 people, 3,700 unaccompanied minors in a facility that's supposed to hold 250. None of them had been tested for COVID. And in some of these pods, I mean, Lindsay, there should be 32 children. There were 500. They were stacked like sardines. It looked like cattle. And the Biden administration should be held accountable for this humanitarian crisis.
And with that said, as we were pulling in, you could see where they're building 3 more very large buildings that I'm sure is millions of dollars. They know what we learned, and that is the tip of the spear for this number is actually going to be in June. So as the weather gets warmer throughout Mexico, more and more and more will come. They think, they're not surprised if it's a doubling over in the month of April, what we had in March, if it's double April, if it's double May, and then the largest part of them will come in June. This is why they're trying to be prepared so they no longer have 4,700 people at one place. They're constantly trying to move them out. There are so many. Once again, over 100,000 people, then with some 26,000 to 28,000 that they could count, but that they did not catch. And all of these will come to this country, be released, and move on without a COVID test, without the chance for us to be able to know who they are.
Congressman Fallon, I only have seconds left here, but I got to ask you this. Kamala Harris was set to be in charge by President Biden. She doesn't seem to want to hold that torch. So who is in charge and what is being done to solve this crisis?
Oh, the Mexican drug cartels, Lindsay, are in charge of our border. It should be the federal government. It's our task. It's our role. But we have punted it. We have made them the de facto rulers. They control it. So and they're the most evil people on the planet. And you know what people don't talk about? The fact that most of these people came from Central America, the ones that Congressman Sessions and I saw. Half of the women that make that journey illegally from Central America to the United States are raped along the journey. Estimates are as high as 80%. This is a travesty. It's a humanitarian catastrophe, and it must be stopped.
Wow. Congressman Sessions, real quick to Lindsay's question. Just, I don't mean to jam you on this, but do you know, you've been around the block a few times, is there someone in the government that's actually in charge right now in our government?
Well, in fact, we asked the question, has the information which they were forthright in giving us, not just the Border Patrol, not just DEA, not just the people necessarily on the ground, but have you provided this intel and the actual impact to the United States of America? And the answer was, President Biden was vice president when the real problem started a couple years ago under a former administration. He knows exactly that the drug cartels made $500 million off delivering what they did in the month of March alone. He is well aware of it. The question is he going to pick up on it? Absolutely not. This is the Democratic Party's agenda, and that's what he's a part of.
That's bingo. Bingo. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us and sharing with us these insights. It's so crucial to shed light on the situation. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. God bless.